with Jason Smith, the Missouri congressman, of course, who heads that committee, the House Ways and Means Committee. Chairman, always good to have you. Assuming you're right that there's a lot of misappropriated funds here and used and maybe criminal actions going on here, how do you claw that dough back?
Let me tell you, first off, this was the first hearing that we've been able to have. House Republicans has been asking for it for several years, and thank goodness we were able to turn the lights on what we believe is the greatest theft of the taxpayer dollars in American history. What we had testify yesterday is that there was $191 billion in fraud, but that was at the minimum. They are projecting that it could go as north as $400 billion. And when only $878 billion was in this program, you're talking about nearly half. We're going to have to hopefully help that the White House will be a partner in this. We also requested the Department of Justice be part of the hearing. But guess what? They refuse to participate. They're the ones that's supposed to be going after this fraud. They've only been able to return a couple $1 million when almost $200 billion at the minimum has been fraud. I hope the White House will show up. But they don't like to have a lot of lights turned on into the darkness that they've been approaching.
Chairman, what's interesting here is that I remember distinctly there was a rush to get this dough out the door. And I understand in the middle of COVID, a lot of people were hurting. But there was not a check and balance system to make sure the right people were getting the money. Now, that might take a little longer, but it sure beats the kind of dilemma you're dealing with right now. I'm wondering if your committee then looks into ways going forward, if we're ever to be doing something of this size, hopefully not of that magnitude, but anytime money goes out, that we have the system in place to make sure it goes to the right people.
It is the duty of every member of Congress to watch out for the taxpayers, and putting good guardrails and safeguards in any kind of legislation that's being passed should be our responsibility. But Neil, this is $878 billion of unemployment that we're looking at, and we think that there could be fraud up to $400 billion. There was over $5 trillion of COVID money spent over the last few years. We have to look at every aspect of where there could be fraud, and we have to go after it. That is what's important to the American taxpayers, and hopefully every member of Congress will want to see the light of day there.
This isn't your bailiwick, and I just want to get your thoughts on it, Chairman. This dust-up between Florida Senator Rick Scott, of course, in this battle with the president over monies and his intentions to cut Medicare and Social Security. The senator said that was never the case, and that he wanted to debate the president on this issue tonight. The president's already left Florida. That's not going to happen. But one of the things that Senator Scott said bore some maybe repeating here, and I wonder your thoughts on this idea of programs that come before you and Congress in general every 5 years to sort of do an up and down financial check. Do we need all of this? Is money being spent correctly? What do you think?
First off, when President Biden stood before us at the State of the Union and tried that fear-mongering again on Social Security and Medicare is just a vicious cycle of lies, and that needs to be addressed. As the committee that has jurisdiction over Social Security and Medicare, we are only going to protect and preserve it. We're not cutting Social Security and Medicare, and it's not tied to the debt ceiling.
But when you say protect and preserve it, I mean, you're acknowledging that as it goes now, it's not sustainable, certainly over the next 10 years, the way it's going, right?
You're exactly right. It's projected to go insolvent, both of those programs, over the next several years. And you know what? It's projected to go insolvent faster now because of the Democrats' reckless spending over the last 2 years. In fact, their reckless spending in the American Rescue Plan, which was the $2 trillion, is cutting Medicare immediately because of their own regulations or own laws. So when the
president said, and then there's applause during the State of the Union address, Social Security, Medicare are safe, was he referring not only for this debt limit type in the next 10 years?
I don't know what the president was saying because I could barely understand half of it whenever we were there.
But what is the Republican position on that? Do you know?
The Republican position is to make sure that these are two very important programs. My mother is on Medicare. My mother is on Social Security. I come from a very working class family. We have to make sure these programs are protected for people just like my mother. And that is what Republicans are going to do. And we are begging for Democrats to come to the table.
It won't be an issue this year, but it could be in future years, right?
If Democrats would come to the table and help us fix the problem that's leading to the insolvency of Medicare and Social Security, we would do that. But we have a president who's been refusing to even talk about the debt limit, and now he started to say that he might. So if they want to, we're ready to do it because we need to do it for the American people. All right.
I think I'll put you down as a maybe then on the president and his position on this. But I did want to check with you in all seriousness where this is going. Jason Smith, House Ways and Means Committee Chairman, thank you very, very much.